From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
Breaking news at noontime here on LALATE. In this recording, you're going to hear about those monthly fourth stimulus checks, but you're also going to hear why those fourth stimulus checks need to go by recon faster than anyone thought before. What happened? Minutes ago, the President of the United States privately released details about his fifth stimulus package. And if you think the President's spending a lot of money that Republicans won't pay on the fourth stimulus package, wait till you see the fifth stimulus package. The President has already spent $2 trillion so far on the third stimulus, is proposing $3 trillion on the fourth stimulus, and wants to spend another $1 trillion this September on the fifth stimulus, bringing the total price tag to $6 trillion between January and September of this year. Do you think a Republican's going to support that? No. Do you think you have to go by reconciliation? Yes. In this recording, I'll explain the reconciliation process. Also, I'll explain the great breaking news which you saw on Mornings LA that's happening across the board. That massive now push for SSI and SSDI reform. How it could add things and remove the things that have been not where we should be. Also, I'll go over the big push for what will be in fourth, fifth stimulus. In addition to the fourth stimulus package, there's a lot of things happening, and it's all happening right now. In addition to monthly stimulus checks, student loan debt forgiveness, and also the $3,600 of child tax credit. What will be happening with that this fall? I have a lot more of that coming as well. It's a big noontime broadcast. I'm so excited you're here, and let's get to it. This is Noontime LA. Good noontime, everybody. It's LALATE. I hope you are having a wonderful and beautiful day. And boy, if you did not miss mornings, if you missed Mornings LALATE, you are in a store for a bombshell of exclusives happening today. Wow, there is so much huge, great news. You have never seen it in a long time. Big updates about SSI reform, yes. Big updates about increasing your SSDI benefits, yes. And big updates across the board about wealth tax that could fund the $2,400 of SSI and SSDI, in addition to those monthly stimulus checks. How are you? If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video, and if you're not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Let's first get to what's at issue for fourth stimulus. Reconciliation. Bipartisanship, not going to happen. And if there was ever an attempt by the President of the United States to get bipartisan support for fourth stimulus that ultimately doesn't give you a stimulus check, then it's not going to happen with this graphic. Why? Because detailing this afternoon, minutes ago, are the latest details of what the President's proposing for fifth stimulus this fall. In September, the President's proposing to spend another $1 trillion on top of the $3 trillion he's proposing for fourth stimulus and the $2 trillion he spent for third stimulus, which would bring the total price tag of spending by this president from just January to September at $6 trillion. This is a no-brainer, folks. Republicans are not going to support spending $6 trillion in no less than 9 months of one presidential term. They are not going to support anything for this. You have to go by reconciliation. Now, reconciliation works for you because it ultimately gives you the big stimulus. But it's also important to understand that they need to get the stimulus to you and not to someone else. And not to something else, but actually to you. In this recording, I'm going to break down all these details for you and hit them one at a time. And let's get to it right now. First, the senators and the House members have made very clear on fourth stimulus, the one being done now, the American Jobs Plan, the Recovery Act, the infrastructure bill, that there must be monthly stimulus checks in there, or do not come to us with the fourth stimulus package unless it's in there. And guess what? They're going to put it in there. Here's what you need to know, is that those fourth stimulus checks are going to be put in by Senate Democrats or by House Democrats. The amount per month may differ, but the push is the same. Let's go over it. House members want to pay you a stimulus check every month to the end of this pandemic plus 1 year. And the senators want to pay you a stimulus check between now and December. So House members want to pay you about 18 months of checks, where senators want to pay you about 6 months of checks. Who are the people at issue? The House members, about 100 plus members who are progressives, and the senators are about 50 members who are movers and shakers. The monthly amounts differ. House members want to pay you less over a longer time. So $2,000 a month the first month and $1,000 thereafter over 18 months approximately. Senators, a bigger amount over a shorter period of time. Word on the street says they're going to pay you $2,000 a month for 6 months, $12,000, or $1,400 over 6 months, $8,400. Now, when you first saw this graphic with me about a few weeks ago, you said, oh my, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, you thought. Well, guess what? Let's just take a pause from that graphic, that 8,000 in the back of our brain, back of our memory, 12,000 in the back of our memory, and let's just look to September, out a few months further, and look and see what the president's proposing for September. Are you ready for the hit? Here you go. He's proposing to spend an additional $1 trillion in September on other people. Boy. So do not think that that amount of money for stimulus checks is unreasonably too large in light of what this president wants to spend. He wants to spend $6 trillion between January and September alone on the American economy. Let's see what is in fifth stimulus this September so we understand the context of getting monthly stimulus checks of large amounts out the door. When we first saw those 4 stimulus checks, we thought, well, that's a lot of money. Well, it's not a lot of money comparing to what's going on in fifth stimulus in September. The president is now ambushed by a lot of Democrats who are proposing SSI reform, and I'm going to go over that in a second. Then the president is proposing more taxes, and finally, the child tax credit. Yes, that's what I've been telling you is coming. I've been telling you it's coming. And what is it? I'm going to tell you right now. The president in the fifth stimulus package in September will propose not permanent, but to 2025, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, 5 years of paying everyone under age 18 $300 a month. If he wants to pay everyone under age 18 $300 or $250 a month for 5 years, you could do the math. If they're going to get that amount of money, $300 a month for 5 years, then he could certainly pay you stimulus checks this July. Now you understand how I've always said to you that while the stimulus checks in light of last year may look like a lot of money, it's not a lot of money compared to what the president's proposing this fall. In fact, let's do the math. 5 years at $300 a month for a child? Well, they're almost getting 30% of your stimulus check, but they're getting over 5 years. Well, the House Democrats are only talking about 18 months, and the senators are only talking about 6 months. Yeah, the children, he's proposing to give a lot more money to you in September. So, Purple Power, it's time to push for fourth stimulus. Kimberly, thank you for coming to Purple Power. How are you? Who gets fourth stimulus? You. If you make less than $75,000, you. If you're a household of 4 or less, you. And those numbers I showed you before are per individual. And SSI and SSDI, you. This is you. This is absolutely the biggest payday you've ever had on this channel, but today you're seeing it's not the biggest payday for anyone on this channel, because guess what? Those children are looking down the eyes of a fifth stimulus package in September that could dwarf everyone else's stimulus package from July. Yeah. So do not be afraid to support the big push for fourth stimulus. If the president wants to spend that type of money on children this fall, you want to push for fourth stimulus. Now, here's what's also important to understand, is the procedural aspect at issue. Imagine if you're a president and you're saying, I'm trying to get bipartisan support for the fourth stimulus. And Republicans, as you know, since 2020, don't like to spend a lot of money. They're worried about the deficit. They're worried about deficit spending. He says, I have a $2 trillion infrastructure bill. And while he's trying to meet with you about the $2 trillion infrastructure bill this week, suddenly comes out the news about what he wants to do in September. Oh, and by the way, in September, I want to spend another $1 trillion. Oh, wait a second. I'm trying to negotiate with you about the $2 trillion. You're ready to spend another $1 trillion? It all signals that reconciliation is the only path for this president. That's why Leader Schumer did what he did several weeks ago. Leader Schumer knew this. He's very smart. He knew that the president has a lot of spending on the mind, and that the only way you could do all this spending is by reconciliation. And that's why Leader Schumer went to prepare for vote-a-rama after vote-a-rama this year. As we look to the map across the board, we're looking at third stimulus going out and landing across this country in May, and then we're looking at June and July as the work on fourth stimulus, and then September, the work for fifth stimulus. And then we look back at what Leader Schumer did to get fifth stimulus ready. Here's my graphic. Folks, this is not today's graphic. This is my graphic from 2 weeks ago. But it's exactly what I told you was going to happen. I told you this fall was going to be fifth stimulus. I told you 2 weeks ago that Leader Schumer won that recon so that he could have an extra recon this spring and then save in the fall not one, but two stimuluses by recon. In the graphic, you see September 6th stimulus. Well, that's providing he doesn't do the fifth stimulus this summer. He can push the fifth stimulus into the fall, and then he could do another sixth stimulus before Christmas. Yes, you just heard me right. Fifth stimulus in September, sixth stimulus in Christmas. We're literally doing this. Away we go. Away we go. The president's proposal for SSI reform is not the SSI reform for fifth stimulus is not coming from the president, but is coming in a major bombshell, which I delivered earlier this morning on Mornings LA. And boy, if you missed it, you're in for a big surprise right now. In fact, I'm going more into detail right now. The president, as you know, during the campaign trail, promised three things. He promised, one, to raise your benefits of SSI, SSDI, Social Security, and Railroad benefits lifetime during some type of analytics. Raise them lifetime. Number two, tie them to a different benchmark. They're currently tied to COLA, so they don't move and they don't get reassessed in December and move much. And third, potentially give you additional stimulus of $200 a month. Well, I had told you that the last one is losing traction, but the first two could go by executive order if people start pushing. And guess what happened? People started pushing. A new letter obtained by LALATE, signed by several dozen congressional leaders, is revealed today. The major push came in a new letter revealed that tells the president, you know what? You made some promises, you need to keep them. It actually says that in the letter. This is signed after page by Democratic members of Congress, including Bernie Sanders, Sherrod Brown, Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, the same people who want to give you those monthly stimulus checks. It says you made promises during the campaign trail and you made promises during the transition. You need to hold up your promises. Sounds like they're listening to this channel, don't you think? It sounds like they're listening too. So for the first time ever, I want to break down what they're talking about and what they want to give you. And let's get to it right now. First, they want to increase your benefit levels. Second, they want to increase your asset limits. And third, they want to increase your benchmark by tying you to inflation. Let me explain to you what they want to in each of those items. Item number one, they want to raise the benefits above the federal poverty level, says the letter. SSI offers a vital income floor, but SSIs represent a vital lifeline for those Americans without which they would be unable to meet their financial needs. Unfortunately, the federal government has inadequately been able to maintain this lifeline. SSI benefits have long been inadequate, with the federal benefit level standing at only $794 a month, far below the federal poverty line. And here comes the real shocker of the letter. It says, during your campaign, you called for addressing this crisis, rightfully pointing out that people with disabilities and older adults should never have to live in the poverty in America. We believe you're correct, and we're asking you to raise the benefits at least 100% above the federal poverty line. Thank you, Dennis, for becoming a Purple Hawk. Everyone welcome Dennis to the family for becoming a Purple Hawk. Very, very kind. If you've not become a member, the member link's at the top of the chat. That is the second one. The first one. The second one is increasing the SSI asset limit. It was last set in 1984 at $2,000 for an individual. They want to increase the cap, as you also said during your campaign commitments. Boy, they are going in deep with this president. They are saying, you promise this, time to do it. Number 3 is updating the income exclusion, which dates back to 1962. It says, had the original exclusion been indexed to inflation, the exclusion today would be worth $7.45 a month. Instead, it's carrying a 1962 number of $85 a month. It's hideously unupdated. And that was the start. Then it wants to change certain things, like eliminate the marriage penalty and the in-kind maintenance, and also other items. So it wants to remove the income exclusion currently and raise it up, give you more benefits monthly, tie your benefits to inflation, increase the asset limits, and pay you bigger benefits. This is huge. This is huge. If you've been with me for a while, there's not a single minute that passes where people says, whatever happened to SSI and SSDI, the president promised? Guess what? That's the letter. That is the letter. Those congressional leaders have written the president a letter saying, you know what? You made promises. We're now in April. We're 90 days into this presidency, 100 days into this presidency. It's time to start holding up your promises. Get this done. This is huge, folks. This is huge. Now, let me explain where this is. This is in the 5th stimulus in September, the American Family Act, or America Family Plan, the AFP. This will start in September, and this is incredible, incredible relief. Here's what you need to know. I make everything clear, and I don't puff up, and I don't inflate, and I don't make superlatives. This is not the $2,400 of SSI. That $2,400 of SSI is currently not happening. The big payout for you, if you're on SSI, is for stimulus now, between now and July, with the checks going out in July, is $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $12,000. It dwarfs $2,400. That's what you need to get behind. It does not count as income. It does not increase, it does not disqualify from you for benefits. This is where those same people that wrote the letter today want you to give it. It's the same people. Sherrod Brown, Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, and Bernie Sanders, the same 30, 40 people. They're saying we're going to give stimulus checks, multiple stimulus checks every month. But we're not done fixing the SSI reform. And I told you there was a couple things they had to fix. 1, increase your benefits, and 2, tie you to a new benchmark. Basically, give you more money per month going forward. And away we go. I told you I would stay on subject with you, and now you have the big update. And guess what? I'm going to stay on top of this subject as well. But I'm not done there yet. We have other big great news in this recording, is that Elizabeth Warren, who has singularly been pushing for a lot of things, whether it's student loan debt forgiveness of $50,000, the SSI reform, like in that letter, the multiple stimulus checks, now has another thing happening today. And her latest thing is going back to a subject matter I've not covered in about a month, which is the wealth tax. The wealth tax on the super, super, uber wealthy, the billionaires and trillionaires, which she said during her campaign run for president would pay for SSI reform, is now the subject of a major letter I have obtained on this channel. And I'll be going over that letter I'll be going over everything else that's exciting, and I'll be cutting back more to force stimulus in this huge, big recording of Noontime LA. Stay with me. I'll be back in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. It's a big noontime, and thank you for joining me. You're in the middle of a live broadcast of Noontime LA. Coming up in 2 hours from now is Afternoons LA. We started about 5 minutes late, so it's less than 2 hours from now. Afternoons LA comes up in 2 hours from now, and then our programming schedule continues thereafter. I'm so excited for you to join me on a big day in which there's so much great news. I saw some of your great questions and comments during the commercial break. Continue to drop them. I'll answer them. How are you? If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. We're approaching, I guess it's 394,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 400,000. We're just a few away, approaching our 1 year anniversary on April 25th. We'll have a lot of fun this next few weeks. So thank you for becoming part of this family. And if you've not liked this video, try to like the video. 2,000-3,000 likes. It really helps in the algorithm ranking of the videos. Finally, if you've not become a member like the 2 new video members in this chat, consider becoming a member. The link's at the top of the chat and also in the pinned comment. Wow, what a day it is. Here's what you need to know, is that as we sit here right now, the push is underway for those monthly fourth stimulus checks. Where do those fourth stimulus checks land? Where do they take formation? They take formation when the America Jobs Plan or the Recovery Act or the infrastructure bill, whatever you call it, is reduced to a reconciliation process. And when the congressional leaders start the reconciliation process, they add things in. Over the last 2 days, I've been detailing really excruciating details about how you need to understand the president doesn't write the bill. He doesn't write the bill. It's written by the congressional members, and that ultimately they put it in. Now that's the fourth stimulus package, and you just heard a preview of the fifth stimulus package for this fall with SSI reform. Is there something in between? There is. There's a lot of standalone items that are not in packages. Number one, student loan debt forgiveness. What's happened to that? Elizabeth Warren again and Leader Schumer are not pleased. I'm not happy either. Why? Because last Friday was the deadline for Miguel Cardona, your education secretary, to prepare that deal memo that says whether the president can forgive student loan debt by executive order, not by bill. So this is an executive order. And the memo hasn't been produced. Has not been produced. And you know why? Because he can do it by executive order. Obama did and Trump did it. So what's taking so long? I'll stay on top of that and certainly tag Elizabeth Warren. Number two, then we have Ron Wyden's bill, which I detailed starting on Friday was introduced, which would pay $250 a month for 6 months every year if you're a PUA person, which could be an independent contractor, gig worker, sole practitioner, producer, director, electrician, plumber. His plan is really good, as a lot of unemployment benefits are ending in September. They were created by the first stimulus package. That's a standalone bill. But then there's this standalone bill. Yes, Elizabeth Warren has that massive, uber, super rich wealth tax bill, which I detailed to you first over about 2 months ago. Remember, she introduced it as a senator to the Senate. Whatever happened to it? Well, guess what? It's becoming front page news this coming week because today she released a letter, and the letter is written to Leon Cooperman, who, if you've listened to this channel for a while, you recognize that name. He is one of the commentators that appears also often on broadcast media saying he doesn't like her wealth tax bill. So what she's done is she's invited him to Congress next Tuesday to debate the issues. He doesn't like it. She likes it, of course, it's her bill, and to discuss it publicly. Now, what's big for you? Two things. One, this is what funds SSI and SSDI reform, the wealth tax bill. Second, the president has not been opposed to the wealth tax bill as she has drafted it because it's for extremely wealthy people, billionaires and trillionaires. The president's worried about any tax for people who make less than $400,000 a year. This is not even anywhere close to that. But here's why you may also want to be a member of this channel and listen to this as well. It's page 2 of the letter. At the very end of page 2 of the letter, which is a public letter, she released the letter to the public. She says, Mr. Cooperman, if you have any questions, reach out to my staff leader. Here is her email address. Yes, you know what I'm referring to. If you have to contact Elizabeth Warren to push for SSI reform, push for student loan debt forgiveness, push for multiple stimulus checks of the fourth stimulus package, or push for anything else that I may have forgotten in that list, because there's a couple things she's covering, you now have a direct email address to her staffer. If you're a member of this channel, you're going to see this PDF, which is on U.S. Senate stationery, released to you today. Yes, that's the benefit of becoming a member of this channel. And away we go. Boy, so much exciting news. Now let's cut back to forced stimulus and why forced stimulus needs to get going sooner rather than later. It's very important to start the reconciliation process very soon. And it's actually perfect timing because Amy just asks exactly what I'm asks a question exactly about what I'm on. Amy asks, can the recon be done in less than 2 months? I don't really know. I don't think it can. And I don't think this bill, which is a more complicated bill, because it's not a renewal of a previous bill. It's not like they're taking the first stimulus and just modifying it. This is a very new bill in all its form. This may take the full 2 months. So Amy says, can they do this in less than 2 months? I don't think they can. Remember, Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi said they're going to call for a vote by July 4th. And obviously, your stimulus checks would land in your bank account in July. But July 4th, 2 months back, is May 4th. So great question. It's very important to push. Hugh Smith says push, push, push. And Hugh, and then Linda, another person says keep on pushing. Agree, recon should be faster. Cindy, Alderman, recon should be faster. They need to change that tax code, says Denise. Yeah, that's a very great point by Denise. Boy, she's very, very smart question. Comment. Denise is right. I mean, the fourth stimulus package is involving infrastructure, which was not in the first and second stimulus package. So it's new stuff that got to right. And it involves changing the tax code. And changing the tax code not only is a complex task for congressional leaders that are not particularly accountants, not only is it a difficult task, but it's also a task of discussion. If you were tuning in yesterday to LALATE, I detailed a new report from Politico that says even as we sit here this week, they have yet to decide, the Democrats, which items they wish to change in the tax code. Here's what you need to know is that while I have covered the corporate tax rate as one of the issues changed under the fourth stimulus package, there's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot more items that need to be changed in the tax code. The corporate tax code change from where it is now to 25 or 28% doesn't pay for forced stimulus. It doesn't even pay for even a smidgen of forced stimulus. So they have to do other items to change in the tax code. What are those other items? Have we heard those other items? We have not. There's a reason you haven't heard it. The Political Report says the White House hasn't even decided upon the items. Now, remember, the White House is not writing the bill. The House committees, Representative Neal, Ways and Means Chairman, his committee would decide what type of revisions to the tax code. But they really have not gotten this decided or let alone, flushed out. The Political Report says, discussing changing the top marginal tax rate to 39%, eliminating the step-up basis of death. I don't want to put you to sleep, but you see, there's a lot of strange things that got to change, and they haven't even decided what they want to change. So what you need to have them change is get them going. What we got to change is have you get moving, because you're not moving. That's what we have to change with them. But that was an excellent question. It takes time to revise the tax laws. Says Bonnie. That's very well said. It does take a lot of time to revise the tax laws. Ernest says, can President Biden do an executive order for our stimulus checks? No. So if he's taking the money out of Treasury, he cannot do that. And I've gotten the question sporadically here and there, and I want to answer it right now. Whatever happened to that SBA unused PPP money from 2020 that could be used for stimulus checks? We don't know. This SBA with unused money has become really one of the, I don't know. It just feels like at some point there's going to be some very big investigative report on broadcast media about how SBA uses money, because consistently over and over since last year I've gone over how SBA does not use money in the way it's supposed to use money. So that unused PPP money from 2020, where is it? Has anyone asked about it? Is SBA now following the rules for the allocation of money given to it for third stimulus and second stimulus from the last two laws? No. They've still not gone live with a $5,000 new EIDL grant and have now allocated or diverted resources for the new grant to be used for the previous grants. Yeah, so that, there we go. It's just sort of like moving goalposts again. But that, again, is something that needs to get going. I'm sorry I'm late, says Kimberly. Oh, that's no problem. That's no problem. Let me give you the big recap where we are as we run up on 32 minutes. Wow, that was fast. As you join me on a noontime, big breaking developing details across the board. First, let's go over forced stimulus. Forced stimulus is likely to only go by reconciliation. And the reason why it's likely to go by reconciliation is because of a new report released today that the president looks to spend $6 trillion of the American resources, American economy, between January and September alone. The new report says that the president looks to spend $1 trillion on fifth stimulus this September, on top of the $3 trillion for fourth stimulus and the $2 trillion he's already spent. That is, as fifth stimulus will likely include the child care tax credit from now to 2025. Not permanent. The report says the president wants to pay children 18 and younger $300 a month to now to 2025, in essence, almost 5 years, by raising more taxes. Meantime, other Democrats, not the president, want to do SSI reform. That SSI reform is now detailed in a scathing letter to the president, saying you need to uphold your promises to the American people during the campaign trail. Exactly what viewers have said. What does the SSI and SSDI reform involve? Removing the income exclusion, removing the marriage penalty, increasing the amount of assets you can hold on hand, changing the benchmark to an inflationary benchmark so that you would get hundreds and hundreds of dollars more per month than you're currently receiving, and then increasing your entire benefits levels. Let me recap that even clearer, because I know that's a lot of money in just two breaths. First, it wants to pay you more money per month. That's the first thing. Second, it wants to tie your benefits to inflation. So as inflation goes up, your benefits go up every year when they reassess your benefits in December. Third, it wants to remove the income cap on how much money you can keep. Additionally, it wants to allow you to be able to work and keep that money and still be on benefits by raising the benefits, by raising the income cap level that dates back to the 1960s. great stuff across the board. And away we go. Meantime, forced stimulus is heating up. The push to get forced stimulus needs to start because there's 2 months to do a reconciliation process. Student loan debt forgiveness has still not got to that letter from Miguel Cardona. And the business grants are, doing what they usually do with SBA, sort of, shuttering for the shuttered SBA. Thank you for joining me on a big noontime broadcast. I'm back with you in 2 hours with more about these breaking, developing details about forced stimulus, the Elizabeth Warren wealth tax bill, detailed earlier in this video, and the major new push for SSI reform in a scathing new letter released today. Our programming schedule continues in 2 hours from now as we go into afternoons LALATE. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. 2 hours from now. I look forward to seeing you then. And then 2 hours after that is another afternoons LALATE, the 6 p.m. show. Then evenings LALATE at 8 p.m. and then LA Late Night at 10 p.m. It's an easy programming schedule to remember because every show is 2 hours apart. You've been watching Noontime, and I look forward to seeing you on afternoons LALATE in 2 hours from now. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. This is the most comprehensive, the most accurate, the most informed, the most up-to-date, and the most interactive and fun channel there is covering your financial news. Also, like this video. Let's try to do 3,000 likes. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Casino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay FLA for more.